Hello everybody, welcome to the UKCN training program. My name is Yun Chang. Today, I am going to make a presentation called The Art of the Tailored, How to Write an Oxbridge Personal Statement for Other People. Here's some information about myself. Currently, I am a PhD student from University College London. My major is Visual and Material Culture, which is based in the Department of Anthropology. I'm an anthropologist, column writer, art critics, and visual artist based on photographic practices, and I joined UKCN as a freelance writer in September 2015. The presentation will be divided into three parts. First, how to write a personal statement. This part will help you grasp a general understanding of what a personal statement is and its necessary contents. Second, how to write an Oxbridge personal statement. In this section, I will illustrate the differences between an ordinary PS and an Oxbridge one. Lastly, how to write an Oxbridge personal statement for other people, which are our clients. I will use specific examples here to show the importance of a tailored personal statement during applications. So, how to write a personal statement. What is a personal statement? Here is my own definition. A personal statement, or a statement of purpose, is a supportive document, normally compulsory in applications for university degree programs. It demonstrates the applicant's desire, understanding, and relevant experience in the program applied. To be more specific, a personal statement needs to show your desire. For example, why do you want this? And it needs to show your understanding in the university and the program you are applying to as well. In some cases, you also need to address some recent developments in this interested area you are applying to. Also, a PS needs to cover your relevant experiences as an embodiment of the transferable skills that you have already obtained. In brief, writing a personal statement is all about the issue of match. Like a supply-demand relationship in economics, you are selling yourself while the universities are seeking for suitable candidates. And it is your responsibility to tell the university why and how the program meets your aspirations, and to display your capability to attain this degree. But how to write a personal statement that will make sense for your readers? I think the key to this is similar to academic writings, and it is the reason and logic that matter the most, as the contents of every personal statement are basically the same, including your desire, your understanding, and your academic and working skills. Therefore, what makes you and your program a perfect match depends on how you articulate the reasons for applying with reason and logic. With logic writing, you not only show your contents in a certain order so that the reader will read off your intention step by step, but also imply your ability of rational thinking. In PS writing, logic itself is a virtue, as it is in academic writing. And logic writing consists of two aspects: chronological order and causal relationship. What on earth are they? A chronological order, as shown in the slide, is about how things get processed, phase by phase, in a linear time relation. In most circumstances, I use this kind of logic relation to develop the process of how a student's interest in application for this program is triggered. As for the causal relationship, it emphasizes on discovering the reasons that together lead to a certain result regardless of the issue of time. However, such two modes of logic are not always separated. As a matter of fact, in most cases, they overlapped with each other within the PS writing. Now, I will use an example to illustrate how the combination of these two modes of logic writings are developed. This client wanted to apply for the MSc program in Project Management at University College London. However, his major was illustration animation, and his grade was not ideal either. Therefore, I started to think, is there any possibility to bridge his current studying area to project management? Considering his previous foundation background in architectural and landscape design, I designed an academic pathway for him as reasonable as possible. You can see I wrote from a chronological order that initially he wanted to be an architect or landscape designer, and that was why he chose to study illustration animation, which will train him with technical skills in illustration and design. Then I wrote that with theoretical studies, his interest gradually shifted to exploring how an architectural project is organized and implemented through architectural project management, which exactly corresponds to the distinguishing feature of UCL's project management, which is subject to the Bartlett School of Construction and Project Management with a speciality in architectural and construction area. In this example, you can see how the interest of studying was shifted with time and how this process of change drove the applicant to make his final decision. Now let's talk about how to write an Oxbridge personal statement. I assume you all know that what Oxbridge is, Oxford and Cambridge, two best universities in the UK and even in the world. So, when applying to such top universities, everything within a personal statement needs to be advanced, including vocabulary, sentence structure, particularly academic understanding, because Oxbridge highly values for the applicant's academic performance, and they want their students to be the future leader in their research area. So, you might even consider to express the willing of pursuing an academic career, which is said to be a strategy to increase the admission rate. But one thing should not be brought to a stronger level: the accomplishment of the university. Oxbridge are inevitably best universities. Complimentary comments will be the last thing they want to hear from the applicants. Such words will only make you look like using flattery for benefits. Obviously, showing academic understanding is the vital part in an Oxbridge PS, but each writer has his or her own research interest, but more or less will encounter some unfamiliar subjects or majors to write. So, how should we solve this problem? According to my own experience, the solution is to figure out your limitation at the very beginning, and do not promise any task that is beyond your limitation. You must always bear in mind a hierarchical map of your knowledge structure, and the figure below exactly shows mine. My own experience taught me a lesson. See this example, and the highlighted parts are what I think crucial in an Oxbridge personal statement. You can see latest research outcome of a specific area, a leading expert's name and his monograph, and how the study of such knowledge encouraged our clients to apply for this master program. But this is not a PS completely written by myself. In fact, this paragraph is written by the client himself. I gave him my edition before, but obviously he was far more familiar with the statistical knowledge than I did. It was a task that I should never accept. Later, this one, which aims the education master degree at Cambridge, is finally my area. As you can see, logic writing, detailed demonstration of theories and books, together with a personal experience in relevant area were included, making it a persuasive personal statement. Eventually, we step into the final stage of today's training, the art of the tailored. What do I mean when I talk about a tailored personal statement? The answer is to be exclusive, specific, detailed, and say no to any model. And the PS is only for one client, based on one program. And how should I write to achieve a qualified tailored PS? The answer is a little bit complicated. So let's look at some examples. Reasonable creativity plays the central role. I will give an answer like that, but what sort of creativity is reasonable? First, it shouldn't be lying. For instance, if the client did not have any research experience, you can't just make up something that never exists. But sometimes, to collect more information that is related to the application and try to connect it with our client's background will be a good strategy. This was the first PS I wrote for UKCN. The client wanted to apply for the master degree in education at Institute of Education. The program was ranked the first worldwide. However, our client's background was not outstanding. Graduated from a business administrative degree at an ordinary university from China with an ordinary grade. He, however, has been working in the English education and training industry for almost 10 years. Therefore, I decided to weaken his academic background and amplify his working experience by creating a story of how a young child who grew up with a BBC-produced English education TV program in China determined to devote himself to English education after being inspired by the establishment of the New Oriental Education and Technology Group by Mr. Min Hongyu, the godfather of China's English education and training industry. By locating his own growing trajectory within China's historical background, I further articulated how they entered the New Oriental Group as an English teacher after working extremely hard on English. In this way, a reasonable creativity of a storyline was created. I think storytelling method will be helpful when the client's own background was not very qualified. The accumulation of knowledge from all perspectives is also very important in a tailored PS. Tailored, in other words, indicates personal experiences and attitudes towards certain things. This is also the example of the student who wanted to apply for project management program at UCL. To increase the reasonability of the PS, I started this PS with a local example of Chinese pagoda in the Kew Royal Botanic Garden in London, and revealed its history as a very early example of architectural project management. Perhaps the student himself did not know a story of such, but sufficient knowledge accumulation may well distinguish your PS from the others. In today's presentation, I also prepared something about CV writing and PS adjustment as well. A CV is also an essential document in the application for university's degree programs. Normally, it includes the following contents, as you can see in the slide. While you are writing a CV, there are always some basic principles that need to be bear in mind. The order of presenting someone's experience should start from the flashback order of the latest incident to the earliest, letting the reader at the first glance depict what you are recently doing and how they echoes to your application. Basically, in each main part of a CV, titles, places, and time should be included at the first place. As for content writing, you should organize them with some questions as a guideline. For instance, what exactly did you do during the experience? What did you learn from your experience? And what skill sets were improved through the experience? Here, I'll show you some examples of writing CV contents. Just remember, please do not use complete sentences in the CV writing, as simplistic and straight style are sought after by CV readers. When the applicant fails to provide you with sufficient information, do ask UKCN for help. Recollect the information. CV need to be simple, but not be hollow. Sometimes, the clients will ask some unreasonable questions about CVs. For example, why didn't you include my hobby? I think extracurricular activities are important. Indeed, it is important, but each information in a CV should be selected before writing. In most circumstances, we follow the principle of relevance. For instance, if the client is applying for a financial degree, the hobby of swimming may be omitted. But if the client is applying for human resources and his hobby is basketball, we could say that such hobby enhances his or her awareness of collectivity, which is important in human resource management. You may also ask, should I be 100% honesty about the client's experiences? The answer is yes. We would definitely say no to the making up an experience or story. However, it is also very important to use some more advanced words or expressions to improve the level of your client's CV, amplifying his or her responsibilities and importance in certain working places. For example, when the client told you that working as an assistant manager is mainly answering the phones, you could write in the CV that his or her main responsibility was to assist the manager on customer service issues. As for PS adjustment, you need to know at the beginning that an adjustment is not just about replacing names of the programs and universities based on a model PS. An adjustment can only happen between programs with similar measure or pathway. To do a grade adjustment task, you should always read through the program's description, special features, um, accredited institutions, for example, and course structures before writing. This gives you an overall understanding of each program and try relate the student's aspirations with the specific features a program could offer. A small tip is to use the check-in function in Word to show directly your adjusted parts to your client. They will better follow your idea of the adjustments. These two slides gives a good example of adjustment. Again, as you could easily tell, it's not as easy as replacing some names. Thank you for participation.